Welcome to Shop Talk, everybody. We have one of my good friends, Sebastian,
Thank you
the
for having me
founder
on.
of Cruva. It's been a
Yes,
while since we talked.
it's been a long time. The last we were just reminiscing on the last podcast was outside of a Las Vegas Airbnb 9 months ago.
Yeah, very long time. A lot happened in those
Yeah,
nine
a lot
months.
has changed. Yeah, for both of us.
Yeah, correct. So in those 9 months, obviously, like the most biggest change is the name change. How has that been, the rebrand and everything from Uptick to now Cruva?
Yeah, I think it was absolutely just a necessity. Like it was something we had been thinking about for a long, long time. We never loved the name. The name came as like, hey, let's just pick a name and let's launch. That's always was Sam and I's attitude. And so what we realized was like, hey, if the vision of the company is like we want to be the operating system for social commerce. Social commerce right now is mainly TikTok, but 5, 10 years down the line, we don't know what that's going to look like. So tying ourselves to TikTok just felt like the wrong move long term. And so, hey, like let's change now. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's pick something we love that can just be ours for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Correct. Yeah, I feel like the last time we spoke 9 months ago, we were even debating on are we too late to like the marketplace. I think now maybe you could argue that we're quote unquote late to TikTok shop, but like you said, there's a whole social commerce outside
Yeah.
of TikTok.
Brands are just now getting involved in it. Like not even every enterprise brand is thinking about it. It's just because the tools didn't exist. TikTok Shop just like made it accessible. That was like the revolution. It was already happening. People would post a picture of something that they enjoyed on Instagram, and then people would flock, right? Like these micro influencers. So separating it from like the huge influencers. And so it's just we're still so early. We're still so early to that game.
Yeah, it's like how everything has changed from like how we were thinking about back then, just saying we're late. I think maybe we gotta try something else versus now you're saying we could probably do this for the next 10, 20, 30 years, like we were
Yeah.
talking about previously.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere, right? Like this idea of the everyday mom from Washington being able to make content and sell products online for her favorite products and make money. The 18-year-old kid from Ohio being able to make videos and make money. Like that's not going anywhere. You don't need an audience to monetize anymore, which is just like a fundamental change to how social media has worked for so long. And so that shift, it's like cat's out of the bag. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I want to talk about like the hiring journey that you've been doing recently. You've
Yeah.
been hiring a good amount, which is great. I love to see it. And selfishly, I want to know a little bit more about it since like we're hiring a good amount as well.
I don't know who I heard this from, but it really stuck with me. And it was that you should be trying to scare people away from working at the company. And so, when I'm having interviews, it's like, hey, this is going to be like brutally hard. This is probably going to be too hard for you, right? And then you want to see what they say. Because if they're adamant and they're willing to step up to the plate and step up to that challenge, then yes, they're worthy of being on the team because I only want to be around like really, really, really exceptional people who take ownership over what they do, people who like really challenge themselves to put out their absolute best work material. And I think across the board, you talk to anybody on the team, they are just absolute rock stars. I mean, you've met most of them. I think some of them you haven't met yet, but you will. And what you will feel across the board is excitement, number one, about what we're building. Everyone is unbelievably excited about the prospect of social commerce and what we are building within that. And then number two, they are just exceptional at their jobs, right? They are all exceptional. And like that's really what we hire for at the end of the day. And so it's definitely been like a shift because, 6 months ago, we had 2 people on the team, and now we're up to 10. So it's absolutely been a shift, but it's going to allow us to like get to that next like stage of growth for us.
Yeah, it's what I like to call them is just sickos. People that are just crazy and crazy amazing at what they do.
Yeah,
I agree with whenever you're hiring, just try to convince them not to work at your company.
exactly. You got to convince them not to work.
Exactly.
Like,
And
this
they're
this
still
is this is way
there.
too hard for you.
Yeah. And then they're still like really persistent on wanting to work there. They're amazing. They're
Yeah.
going to be great. That's the
Exactly.
biggest thing. Now, a big debate and like just the spaces in general, in my opinion, is in-house versus remote. You were pretty much remote, I would say.
Yeah.
With a very lean team, you and Sam, great founders. How is it now versus now getting an office?
The energy in the office is just so different. Like we had one of our developers fly out He generally lives in Alabama. He flew out. Joe just moved into town. So we had Joe, Fulton, myself, and Sam in the office. And one of our other developers was away in Europe on a trip. So it was the four of us in the office to start the year. And I mean, we got more done in that week than we had the whole month of December, right? Maybe even like November and December. We got so much done in that week because it was just something would ship. They would hear me on a sales call, and then they would go and implement it literally by the time I would finish the sales call. Like stuff like that, where we are just able to communicate and just move with such speed. And then like the discussion, the stuff that just like doesn't happen in a Zoom call. It just doesn't, because everyone's just kind of like, sleepy in a hoodie, whatever. You're kind of just like lackadaisical. But when you're in person, there's just like an energy there. And so, again, it's like I was definitely like hesitant to get the office and increase overhead like that. But I'm so incredibly glad that we did, and it's like, build it and they will come, and that is really how I feel. And so we're excited for like this next kind of chapter. And yes, we still have like some amazing remote people, but like we're absolutely going to put an emphasis on like, okay, how do we get the team together, at least once a quarter, and then also just like for what else can be done, it's like, okay, everyone should be having one-on-ones constantly, because if you only have like these team meetings and people don't get to like know each other, and I can give you an example where it's like I had to go home, right, and I was dropping off Joe at his place, and I was going to drop off Fulton. They were like, hey, like we want to go to In-N-Out, and I was like, I'm going home. And so they just went to In-N-Out together, and they ended up, driving all over Los Angeles, having like this great time, exploring the city together. And Joe the next day was like, like that's how you build a team. Like now I know Fulton, and like I know, his family, and I know like what he likes and how he is, and the same can be said about him. And so like that, just like that, those team dynamics, you just can't build that over Zoom.
And I would say you guys have found a way to hire at the right time and hire when maybe there's other times when it was needed, but you're not just going to hire for the sake of hiring. Like we talked earlier, you got to make sure, try to convince them not to join the company, and they still want to join. That's amazing. Yeah. Also, the same thing with the office. You could have gotten an office a lot sooner. Yeah. Right. But maybe like this was a perfect timing. In my opinion, you and Sam have been building the team amazingly. Just because the same way that like Sam's a sicko, I would say the same way every team member is also a sicko. Yeah. Like I've met some of them, and they're amazing, great hustlers. So I think you guys have been able to do everything perfectly so far, and that's from an outsider point of view. I'm pretty sure there's been hurdles, big ones in the previous 9 months we haven't talked. So what's the biggest challenge you guys have to overcome in those 9 months?
Wow, biggest challenge in the last 9 months. I mean, there's been a lot of challenges. I would say on, like, for me, it was just like the schedule. Like the like personally, it was just the schedule where like there were days where I would have, I was explaining this to you, but there's like 8 hours of back-to-back onboardings, and like now thinking back and going 2 weeks, we just onboarded our customer success lead, Andrew, who's been amazing and actually used Cruva at his previous role to scale a TikTok shop. And so he understands the product inside and out. But before we had him, I can't even imagine what it was like. Like it's like I can't imagine what it was like before he was onboarded, because there's just so much to do. And so like for me, that was the biggest unlock of like being able to delegate, just like, okay, after there is, a sales call and then an onboarding, being able to delegate that onboarding and still give like a really, really, really high quality experience to the customer. So like cracking that code has been like so important. I feel like we're just getting there now, and we see that in the numbers as well.
And for outside perspective, for anybody listening, 9 months ago, I would call Sebastian, and he'd be like, I got 2 minutes because I got another sales call. Just let me know what's up. And I was like, damn. Like, he would have his calendar fully booked every single day, Monday through Friday. So that goes to show you like how much of a sicko he actually is as well. But it's great. Like now, like you're building a good team that could also, one, do it as good as you or even better, in my opinion.
Exactly. And same thing on the demos where it's like now we have Max, who's like, yes, I am a founder and I love this company more than anything, but Max is like an actual sales pro. You know what I mean? I'm not like a sales pro. I haven't been doing this for 10 years. I was selling on Amazon like 3 years ago. What do I know? And so like Max has been able to come in and completely optimize like our entire sales process, start, top to bottom. And so like having somebody like him again has just like changed the game.
Yeah, I want to talk about some features. You guys have been launching a good amount of features, in my opinion. We've been using it for the most part. I want to talk about like the AI video review. Last time you said you were gonna try to launch it, I think, but now it's fully launched and it's
Yeah.
amazing. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, so you can now, we basically use AI to analyze every single video that comes in from your shop. So right now you can click into every video and you know, gain insights, right? So that's like the core tech. Now, like that's not super, you know, revolutionary by any means. You can click on an individual video and like view, you know, hey, what are the hooks? Have AI rate the content quality. But what is going to be revolutionary is what we can do with that data now for your shop, where now we can say, hey, you know, 70% of the viral videos that come from your brand, they show the product in the first 3 seconds, right? So that needs to be an emphasis going out to every creator. Like what insights can we gain from the cumulative all the videos to then give you like actionable insights into, hey, this is what you need to do to increase your chances of going viral by 60, 70, 80%. And then how do we make it easy to distribute that information to the creators? So like 2026 is like a big focus for us, is like give, you know, let's take all this amazing data that we have and make it actually like easily accessible for the brands, in not just like a, hey, click into an individual video, but broadly, like looking at the entire shop holistically. How can we give them insights?
Yeah, and I'd say you touched on something amazingly that any brand could really take notes on, is useful data rather than like useless data. You
Yeah.
could pull data from anything, right?
I
But
mean,
it has to be
yeah,
useful, especially for these
exactly.
affiliates, just because one, most of them are sometimes lazy. So as long as you say show the product in the first 3 seconds, they can do anything else, but that alone improves the video.
Yeah. And it has to be also helpful for like an affiliate manager who is like overworked. There's too much for them to do. They're responding to the affiliates in the Discord. They're managing the outreach. They're managing the automation flows. They're managing, you know, contests. And so it's like, if they have to click into every video to get the insights, it's really not helpful. It's really, really not helpful. And so what we need to do is like, okay, now we have the framework. We have the data there. How do we make it helpful for them?
Yeah. One thing I want to touch on is the campaign features that I've been loving, and how you guys come up with some really unique styles of campaigns. Obviously, we all know like the basic ones. You hit certain GMV, you get certain prizes. But I think gamifying it is always
Yes.
big. How do you guys come up with those? Because some of them have been great.
Honestly, they're all suggestions. They're all suggestions. So like if anybody who works with Cruva knows that like we take ideas wherever we can get them. Right? And wherever, in the Discord, in the Slack, you know, in the support chat. Whoever gives us a suggestion, they know that like if it's a good suggestion, we'll implement it in like a day or two, right? And so we recently had somebody out to the office who actually works in ads, but she works at a big agency, and she gave just an incredible suggestion, which was like, hey, a race mode where there's a total pool, you assign a dollar value to a video, right? And then the creators can race to basically eat away at that total pool. So whoever posts the videos the fastest, they get the chance to earn the majority of that total pool. Or a sweepstakes variation where you can assign a point value to either GMV or views, right? And then actually like whoever generates some grand whoever prize, generates the most right? GMV so has the highest likelihood of actually like winning some grand prize, and then everyone can compete. So and then it's not like, you know, a leaderboard's great, but only like the top end, and then everyone can compete. And then it's not like, where now at least like leaderboard's great, bottom guys, like even if you make affiliates are ever going to win, you know, 1,000 views. Now at least you could still win. Bottom guys, like crazy prize, which makes it so fun. It's like you could still win this like crazy prize, which makes it so fun. It's like you want to just get in on the action.
Even outside of TikTok, affiliates. We talk about so much about affiliates because that's social commerce. Even outside of TikTok, we know there's a shortage of good affiliates and affiliates in general. Has that gotten better or worse? We know there's a shortage of good affiliates.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better. So like if we're thinking about good affiliates, it's like 10K plus GMV earners. Yeah, it's gotten a lot better. So like if we're thinking about good affiliates, it's like 10K plus GMV earners, right? So TikTok Shop, right around 13,000. That number has increased. Right now it's sitting at around 18,000. So right around 13,000. I think last time we spoke. Right now it's sitting at around 18,000. So that's I hope that number continues to rise and we can get it, you know, closer to maybe even. I hope that number continues to rise and we can get it, you know, closer by the end of the year. Maybe even. I think adoption rates of TikTok Shop, 30,000. It's no longer just seen as like. I think adoption rates of TikTok Shop, like kind of junky. It's no longer just seen as like that kind of stigma has gone. TikTok has done an excellent job at getting away from that. That kind of more and more people, you know, I just saw getting away from that. And more people, you know, I just saw Nick Fowler. I think you probably know him. Yeah, I don't know him personally, but we've gone back and forth a few times. But I just saw he was on the news, right?
Huge.
And that kind of stuff is just going to continue to happen. And it's just awareness. It's just awareness where people, it's just how like we think about like, okay, you need top of funnel and then you need middle of funnel, then you need bottom of funnel. It's the same thing. That just like sparks again, like that mom in wherever, or that dad in wherever, or that 30-year-old wherever, whoever that's not an influencer. They hear, Nick on the news and they're like, huh, TikTok shop. I didn't know I could make money with TikTok shop. And then, maybe they do nothing, but it's in their mind, And then, a few months later, they see an ad from TikTok. Hey, start being a TikTok shop affiliate. And that's the moment they're like, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. Or I'm going to sign up to Social Army. Or I'm going to sign up to Creators Corner, whoever, right? And I'm going to give this a real go. And so like that will continue to happen. And so I think that's the exciting part. It's like, this is such an incredibly amazing money-making opportunity for so many people. And the fact that there's only 18,000 of them on TikTok Shop,
insane,
who are 10K plus, it's just insane. It's just insane. It goes to show like the opportunity, because there are a ridiculous amount of brands coming on the platform every single day. And so like the imbalance is still so huge. And that's why we see like these huge retainers, right, for top creators, where a creator could get paid $5,000 for 30 videos. Right, like that happens because there's an imbalance, right? And so the creators actually have like all this leverage on the brands if you're a top creator. And so there needs to be more top creators, right? It's just an imbalance.
Yeah, and I love how you said that TikTok is not like this scrappy platform no more. Some Alibaba type of platform. I would say maybe people were looking at it like that, and maybe still the consumer is still looking at it like that, in my opinion, because I know some good consumers, they still haven't bought on TikTok, which I love hearing, to be honest. If I know a friend that buys from everywhere and they haven't bought from TikTok, that's great. It hasn't hit the masses yet.
That's true. Yeah.
But like you mentioned, a lot of big brands are hopping on the platform. I'm hearing founders every single day, some 9-figure founders. 9 months ago, a year ago, they were discounting TikTok. It's like, it's dead. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on it. Now they're going to test it out.
Yeah.
Because once you're that big, you have to be on every single marketplace, especially something like TikTok Shop, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And you see these like vocal founders, like Hudson with Comfort, and all these founders who are out there like spreading the word of like, you guys are dumb if you're not on the platform. And people hear that. People hear that, and it makes an impact. And so like it's going to be the year. This will be the year. There was a lot of stuff last year. It was an exciting year, but this is going to be, I think, the biggest one.
Yeah, I posted about it. I think that TikTok Shop will be better in 2026 than it was in 2024.
Yeah.
That's a huge bet. And like you mentioned with Hudson, he recently just posted saying that people are not counting the credit you will have when you have a listing on TikTok Shop that has 5 million sold with 100,000 plus reviews.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that's amazing on Amazon, but we only know it's amazing after the fact.
Yes.
Right? Same reason why right now you'd invest everything in Bitcoin if you could buy it back then, right?
Of course.
But that's everything hindsight. So I think that's something very powerful where now we have proof from other marketplaces saying like TikTok Shop is early and it's better to be on it than to miss the train.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You do not want to miss out. And it's just like it's setting yourself up for success, as Hudson mentioned, for the next, decade of social commerce, which TikTok is likely going to be the leader. It's either going to be that or Meta, right? There's, maybe YouTube, but I would say it's either going to be Meta or it's going to be TikTok.
I want to touch on the new marketplaces. You guys have been expanding pretty massively. Which one's the most exciting marketplace, and which one are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so, in terms of like other platforms,
other countries, let's say.
Other countries.
Yes.
Okay, so Germany and UK, those are the primary focus. Also, Brazil is very exciting. The GMV, the affiliate numbers in Brazil are like out of this world. And then Germany and the UK, those are two amazing markets. Huge GDPs, huge e-commerce activity, huge TikTok adoption in those territories. So for us, like we're pushing really, really heavily. We're the leader in both those territories, and so we continue to kind of just dominate those markets. Basically, is our goal. And then as new markets come out, I think Korea will be an exciting market. I think Australia, particularly, there's no language barrier, so those are always like great ones to look forward to.
And I'd say UK is always great because there's huge DTC brands that are just amazing killers in UK, but not really much in the United States, and same thing vice versa. So it's great looking at those brands, even hopping on the platform. And in my opinion, UK right now is 2023 TikTok shops, like right when it launched, because I know a lot of people in the UK that are just crushing it right now.
I know. It's kind of surprising. It's just not, even though it was earlier to launch, it's just not quite as mature yet.
Yeah, it takes its time. 9 months ago, sorry, you predicted that Meta would go all in about a year
Yeah.
with shopping. They sort of went all in going onto the marketplace,
Yeah.
not really dialing in themselves. What's your thought
Yeah,
process on
I
that?
think I've had a change of heart, and more so just like if you look at the Meta business, they're just a behemoth in ads. Their ads business is so unbelievably profitable, and it's why they're, you know, $1 trillion company, right? And then if you look at TikTok, TikTok has Douyin as the playbook. And TikTok never really had like an incredible ads product. It was never where like people would spend like they would spend on Meta. And so they followed in what Douyin did, which was social commerce, right? And shopping and live shopping and all these things. Whereas Meta has to be like a little bit more methodical, right? Again, they're also a public company and they do not want to jeopardize their ads business. So while I think, yes, they absolutely will, you know, at some point become a player in this because they just have to. They're going to do it very methodically. They're not going to jeopardize their ads business, which is currently, you know, a huge, huge portion of their revenue.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, social commerce is just going to continue to keep growing, and these marketplaces are going to have to adapt. Even if
Exactly.
you're saying TikTok Shop will be the primary leader, everybody's going to have to do it because, in my opinion, that is the future outside of just
Yeah,
ads, and it's going to be a big marketplace just for ads.
100%. And even just, you know, if you look at like Amazon as well and all they're doing in the space. So it's like, you know, they tried to do live and didn't go so well, but they have the videos tab now. It's not quite as engaging, obviously, because people go to TikTok to be engaged, you know, and entertained. They don't go to shop, whereas they go to Amazon to shop. So there's definitely like differences, but you know, everyone is looking at it.
Well, currently in 2026, is it too late to launch on TikTok Shop as a brand?
No, definitely not. I mean, you know, of course I'm going to say this, but it's still early. It really is. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's still early. There's still so much value that you can get, and also it's it's not linear growth. Again, with these communities, the brands that are thinking about it kind of intelligently right now, they're building these creator communities. These are assets that you will have for your brand, right? This is a tangible asset because, like, let's say you have a new product launch in 2 years from now, right? And you've now built up a community of 1,500 creators. Instead of just doing, you know, 3 influencers, right? And, you know, a brand page TikTok, brand page reel, brand page post when you have a new product launch, you can send that product early to 1,500 people. They have a post date in mind and you can have a planned launch with an army of affiliates, right? Like that is going to be so valuable. So like carving out that community now early is just going to be like so important for these brands.
Selfishly, what's going to be the next huge feature that Cruva will launch that will help?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. Number one is like we're really pushing that community, like letting brands build private communities, which they own those creators, right? They own those creators. That is an asset that you are building for the brand. So continuing to enable and gamification, right, within those communities. So that's like always something we're pushing on. But the real, like, I think value that we're going to deliver this quarter is in the data. It's in the boring stuff on our end. There's not going to be like a ton of flashiness. We just shipped a ton of flashy features, right? The new AI creator search, where now you can get so granular on who you are searching for, which is not possible anywhere else. This is stuff that does not exist. And like even when I talk with brands, you know, the biggest hurdle is just getting them to believe that this is possible. Right. And then what we can do with that. So like already the demographics. Now you can break down your current affiliates by, let's say, how much, you know, how old they are, right? What gender they are, what race, what body type. You can literally see the GMV breakdowns by all of these different demographics, right? Again, like this is stuff that doesn't exist. So continuing to use AI to help brands make better decisions. Again, as we mentioned in the beginning, we're, you know, extracting that data from the videos to give you like actionable insights. There is so much more we can do and that we are actively building towards that's going to be like really exciting and just like I think change the game for brands.
Which is huge in my opinion because there is a lot of brands that still care a little bit about their brand image.
Yeah.
any brand should care about the brand image at the end of the day. But if you're selling leggings, you don't want to ship leggings out to a male creator, right?
Yes.
So just having that feature is huge, in my honest opinion, because you could just target those affiliates.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And even if it's not so obvious, that's where it's like more helpful. Like let's say you sell, a supplement that could be used by men or women. And right now you're sending out 500 samples to men and 500 samples to women every month. And then you're looking at the data and you're saying, oh my God, we got $1 million in GMV this month. So great, we did amazing. But if you actually break that down, what if 90% of that revenue, 900 grand, is coming from females? And so now you're just lighting on fire 500 samples, but also you're killing your revenue, because if you just doubled down on what is actually working, you would see maybe $2 million. Right? And so there's so much value there in actually understanding like what affiliates are actually driving revenue.
And like this data matters because obviously a pretty basic saying is 50% of my ads work, 50% of them don't. I just don't know which one's which.
Yeah.
And like now with this type of data, you will be able to know, okay, maybe this 10% doesn't work. Let's cut this off, like you mentioned.
Exactly. And so understanding that, it's so much of like a margins game now, where it's not just blast out samples to random people every day. That was like 2 years ago. It worked. It worked for me, right? But now it's not that. You have to like be more intentional with not only who you're sending to in the beginning, but then also in reviewing the data that comes back. And so like that's our big bet, is that like that is absolutely going to be paramount for these brands, particularly the big ones, right? Who care about like brand safety and these things, like fine tuning who you're actually outreaching to. It's just going to be so important.
Especially the big ones, right? It's because they're sending out thousands of samples.
Yeah.
Where if you cut off even 10% could really help the bottom line. So going
Yes.
into that, is there still money to be made on TikTok?
Yeah, absolutely. There's still profitable brands on TikTok. It's just honestly like if you're at a certain scale, there's just no reason to be profitable, frankly. There's no reason to be, because if you can just pour more fuel on that fire, you're just going to grow your business so incredibly by just dumping everything. Because if you're able to do like $2 million a month on TikTok Shop and do it at a break even, you're going to get probably 3 to 500 million views. 3 to 500 million views. What does that do for your brand everywhere else? I know it's like a broken record hearing everyone say this, and brands hate to hear this because it's like, oh my God, yeah, the halo effect, blah, 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 blah. Like we want to be profitable on the platform. But like really, like it is just, that's the reality of this platform. It's not just a sales channel, it's also a marketing channel. And so like understanding that is so critical. Yes, you can be profitable. Like if you're really like into your unit economics, you're watching how many samples go out, you're watching what creators are actually working, you're doubling down on those creators, maybe you're leveraging retainers, you're trying to build value, you're using contests to actually reduce the average cost per video, you're getting more videos for every sample you send. Like you can grind down on these numbers in the funnel and be profitable. But you can also just blast samples to the audience that's working. You can incentivize the crap out of the creators that are working and just let it just like ignite your business everywhere else.
Which Cruva does a good amount of helping hand, in my opinion, with that. Like you guys aren't just mass sending out samples, not mass getting sample requests for brands. You guys are making sure, breaking down the data and be like, hey, this works more than this. Let's dial in on this. Because at the end of the day, like you mentioned, there is still profits to be made. But if you're a brand at scale, TikTok, like you mentioned, is a marketing platform at first. That's what I always say. The sales are just the whipped cream on top.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's just the extra. If you get sales, that's amazing. But you're really dialing down on the halo effect, which, like you mentioned, it is pretty annoying because everybody says that.
I know.
But we're not just saying that as a cope. Like, there's not no money to be made.
I
but
know.
If you're focused on scale and growth for your brand, TikTok is the place to be.
It's the place to be. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And I hate saying it, but it is just the truth. It's just the truth.
You mentioned the candle warmers.
Yeah.
You probably, everybody, if they know you, they already know the story. Give a quick breakdown of the story and what's the biggest lesson you learned from it?
Yeah, I mean, this is how I kind of got into the TikTok shop space, right? And I started out, drop shipping in high school, like everyone did, and then went off, did some other stuff for a while, was always kind of hustling, doing some entrepreneurial things, and then I decided, hey, I want to get into Amazon FBA. I didn't like what I was currently doing, and so I decided to get into Amazon. I bought a bunch of candle warmers, like 300 units, which at the time was like a good chunk of change for me, and immediately they landed and I sold them all. at like a 30% profit. I was like, oh my God, this is easy. Did it again, reordered 600 units, boom, sold them all out, right? And I was like, this is the easiest thing ever. I've just cracked the code, right? So I take out a loan and I go buy a ton of units at this point, which was 1,300 units. But for me at the time, I had to get a loan. It was a lot of money. And so I bought all these units. They land. My cost per click for my PPC ads on Amazon tripled, right? So what used to cost me $1 to get a lead cost me $3 now to get somebody onto my page. And there was just no money to be made. At $15 profit, I'd have to convert one out of every 5 clicks. It wasn't possible. And I'm sitting here with like, oh my God, I have to pay back this loan, right? What am I going to do with these units? And so started trying to sell them on Shopify with like meta ads and just did not work. Then like, I don't even remember how I heard about it, but I heard about TikTok Shop and I was like, let me just list them on there. You go and try and find a YouTube video on it. Nothing existed. This is mid 2023. It just came out of beta. Nobody even knew what it was. It was all Chinese sellers. It was all cross-border Chinese sellers at the time. And I was the first person to list Candle Warmer on there. I sent it out to like 10 affiliates and it went so viral. Like that Q4 ended up selling through those 1,300 and selling an additional roughly like 4,000 units and absolutely changed my life. And I was like, I need to go all in on TikTok. Like, this is unbelievable. Nobody's looking at this platform, but there is money to be made here. And so ended up like launching some other brands. And through that kind of process, I realized that the biggest pain point was actually just like finding good affiliates and managing those affiliates. It was just impossible. There was some other stuff on the market, but nothing like I wanted it to be, right? And so I went to my good friend Sam, and we had been friends since high school. He was in his last year at UCLA for computer science, and I was like, hey, like, can we build like a little tool here? And like, if you look at like, you know, the early demos of you know, Cruva, previously Uptick, it was just like this horrible logo, one page. It was just one page on the site, which was like my bots, and you could build a bot. And it was just like crazy. And we got a customer our first week in business, or maybe even our first day. And then we were like, okay, this is something. And we just never like gave up. We were just like, let's just keep trying to make it better. And that's exactly what happened. And we just like always just tried to make it the absolute best product on the market. And it kind of went from, you know, obviously there's a lot of like outreach bots to now it's like we have the vision of like, hey, we want to be an operating system for social commerce and kind of separate ourselves from the other like outreach bots in the market.
Yeah, and even back then, in my opinion, it was still a game changer. When I was looking at for outreach bots back in early 2024 or mid 2024, the only ones I could find are ones that I have to download the program,
Yep.
keep my computer on. Maybe I get a virus. You guys were one of the only few that were actually integrating with TikTok, which was huge.
Yep.
So even back then, it was a really big game changer. And even now, you guys are shipping out some insane products.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely been a crazy journey. And like, I don't even, you know, it's hard to believe that like it ended up here from that little like, you know, product that we had, which was just one page.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot. And we also talk about like this founder dynamic a lot too. Obviously, the basic answer could always be, he was a good friend of mine. He was a really good developer, so I launched it with him. But there's probably more nuances to it, and I always find it interesting whenever someone has a co-founder because I'm a big advocate for co-founders as long as it's a net positive.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, if you're asking yourself who should be my co-founder, maybe you don't need a co-founder, not yet.
Yeah, that might be true. And also the other thing is, I didn't even know Sam was a good developer. He was in his last year of computer science at UCLA. I didn't even know he was good. I knew he was smart. And I respected him, but I didn't know he was a good developer. But I didn't have any other options. I was like, this is my friend. He's a developer. Can he build this? I didn't know like how complex of a tool it actually is to build. And there were points during the 6-month development time, roughly, where he got to a hurdle and it was like, oh no, it's not actually possible. It's not actually possible. Like, there's no way to kind of get through this. And we would have to go and be like, there is a way. There is a way. And at every stage and every moment throughout like the past 2 years, when there was like a time where it's like, oh, no, like it's over. It's over. Right. He was always able to just like grind through it. And same on like, obviously the business development side where it's like, hey, like I'm just going to figure out how to get users and talk to TikTok shop owners like by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's a great dynamic.
Yes.
And also good dynamic on your end too, in my opinion, because even in those early days, I would sometimes see where Sam will tell you, hey, I don't think this feature is even possible.
Yeah.
Like, there's a way.
Yeah.
There's for sure a way. And like, that's a good mindset to have. I'm not saying that like Sam's very technical. He's
Yeah.
like amazing. Every single like update I tell him, any type of feature I tell him is like, okay, maybe we could do it this way, you know?
Yeah.
So he's always listening for feedback, same way as you, in my opinion. But it's great when the developer is taking the feedback as well because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
the one making it. If that makes
Totally.
sense.
And there's a reason why nobody else has the things we have. That we're in our own lane, right? There's other people over here, but we're in our own lane, and there's a reason for that.
Correct. AI is a huge thing right now. Insane. What's your opinion on AI creators and AI content?
It's a hard question. I would say there's some nuance to it. First of all, there's the FTC ruling, right? $500 a pop if you're having, AI UGC creators swear up and down that your product is going to lose them 100 pounds, right? So if you're doing that, I do not think it's good. I think it erodes consumer trust. There's going to be problems in the future with brands who are pumping this stuff out. Now, there are ways to do it well, right? There are ways to do it well and not be kind of, in the red, so to speak. So what I would say is it's a nuanced. I don't have like a one size fits all answer. I initially was very, very apprehensive to it. I'm not so against it now. I understand hey, this is the way of the world. There's this new technology. It will be a big thing. Brands are going to utilize it. It brings down costs. But I think if done poorly, it just destroys customer trust. It just destroys it. Even I saw a CeraVe ad on TikTok Shop where it was just some AI affiliate who got the product, made an affiliate video, and all of the comments were like, "Oh, this is AI garbage. I'm never buying this product again." Right? And that's from an affiliate, right? Where CeraVe doesn't know that's going on, right, behind the scenes. So for these enterprise brands who take brand safety so seriously, if TikTok, personally, I believe they don't crack down on the AI content going out, the enterprise brands are not going to want to do open collab. They're not going to want to. Yes, they'll always be able to do target collabs and message creators, but open collabs is one of the core drivers on TikTok. You know this, right? You need to be getting affiliates wherever they come, and you want these people who love the brand and will go search you up, request a sample. So it's very nuanced. I would say specifically with TikTok Shop, I do not like it. I understand with the ads where there's better content, but with specifically TikTok Shop where you can just have anybody making these bad AI videos, I think it just erodes brand trust.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think using AI as a tool and not as the video creation file itself is great, like you guys are launching. But overall, would you think that AI video creation specifically will be a net positive or net negative for social commerce as a whole? So not just speaking about TikTok now.
For social commerce as a whole.
In the future. So they just say, like you said, it hurts customer trust, but that's talking about a per brand basis.
Yeah, I think holistically, probably it'll be, in terms of GMV driver, it'll be a net positive. It will, because what you'll have is, we're already seeing it where I don't know if you've seen these AI podcasts with an AI podcast host.
This is not AI.
Yeah, this is not AI. At least I hope. But you will, in the future, those podcast hosts will be sponsored by a brand, right? I think that is in the pipeline because you will get a discounted rate and you still get an audience. So that will happen and that will be social commerce. So I think it will be a net positive overall, but you need quality. So I think we'll have these quality, almost AI kind of affiliates where there's real operators behind them. And probably there will be relatively large companies who operate these AI affiliates and AI influencers. And if you're able to get a reputable company who does good work with AI, I think it can be positive.
What's your biggest prediction for 2026?
Biggest prediction. Yeah, that's a good one. Biggest prediction, I would say live shopping will be pushed. This I'm not 100% sold, but I'm hoping that this is the year of live shopping. We've recently built a feature set in a suite of kind of live shopping tools within Cruva, kind of betting on this outcome. And so that is a bet of mine. I hope it gets to that adoption place this year, if not next. But really this year, I think I'm also going to say I think TikTok will crack down on the AI. I think they will. I think it's going to be a necessity. I think all the platforms, maybe besides X, will crack down on the AI that is going out. So those are like two predictions for the year.
Yeah, two solid predictions. I'd say not very hot takes, but
No.
I would agree, especially with TikTok, in my opinion, cracking down just because they're gonna have to, especially
Yeah.
after selling it. In terms of live selling, I would agree solely for the reason because of Whatnot. I do think there's times where other marketplaces help other marketplaces grow. So I
Yeah.
think Whatnot's doing live shopping amazingly, and there's not really a brand on there yet. Goldie has been testing it out, which is amazing
Yeah.
if you're hearing this. Goldie's always an early mover, and for example, for TikTok Shop. But I think Whatnot will help the live selling on TikTok Shop.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do agree. Obviously, in the collectible space, Whatnot is just critical, but it's going to be interesting to see like brands more like Goalie test it out.
You keep saying that you want to be the AI operating system for social commerce. How does that look like in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so it's like, what are the problems that are going to arise by running omni-channel, social commerce? There's a lot of problems that are going to arise, right? Sample management is one. Understanding who your samples are going to. How do you actually get these creators? So there are so many things, and like we've built that infrastructure on TikTok Shop, right? We've built it, and there's nothing else like it for TikTok Shop. And so how do we take that and how do we apply it to these other channels is going to be like the big question that we have to solve over the next 10 years. And I don't have an answer for you right now. I know like what I want it to look like. How possible everything is, that's another question. But I hope to be able to, there's a lot of different components. Number one is like, okay, if you're not in a closed loop ecosystem like TikTok Shop, how do you deal with affiliate payouts? How do you deal with tracking, attribution, right? These are all like the questions that like, I kind of just ruminate and sit on all day because these are the ones that are going to be really, really difficult to solve, but they're going to have the best outcomes for, a tool like ours, where if we're able to crack them, it's just going to deliver such immense value to brands that like, that's our goal. Like at the end of the day, is like, we just want to deliver value to brands.
I would say it's cracking down on the micro influencer marketing.
Yeah.
I would say everybody says it, but let's just say if Jake Paul promotes a product, you already know he's getting paid for it versus someone at home. You've never seen them. She's 35 years old promoting this product.
Yep.
You're going to trust her more than Jake Paul, which is insane because you don't even know this person.
Exactly.
You might know more about Jake Paul just because he's a big influencer.
And it's also like if you take $1 million and give it to Jake Paul, you could do 1 million impressions or whatever it is. I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't know the influencer market like that. But what I can assume is that, hey, if you gave that same budget to micro influencers, generally you're going to get a better outcome, right? For most brands. Now, there are influencer campaigns that work and they work incredibly well if you're savvy. But I just think there's so much value in the micro space. And whether or not like it's going to shift all the ad dollars from influencer, it's going to take a good chunk out of that space. And so there's going to absolutely need to be tools to actually facilitate that.
Yeah. I think the value of the impressions matters as well, in my opinion, which
True.
you guys are dialing that down a good amount, in my opinion. Just because 1 million impressions from there, 1 million impressions from here, they're very different, at the end of the day, like you mentioned. We had some spicy takes last podcast we did. We were saying that influencer marketing will be dead. We were talking about it right now. Do you think has been on the decline, or do you think it's going to make a comeback?
I think you just have to be smarter with your money. I think that the influencer model of 2017 is dead, where the costs weren't so outrageous for the result. And I think that's what we're seeing in the TikTok Shop, where like we're in that early stage where you can still put in money without being like the smartest in the room and get a good return, right? Where now, if you're running an influencer campaign, the costs are so outlandish that you have to be so crafty with what you are doing, right? And so I think, no, it's not dead, but social commerce is taking those budgets. Like those budgets come from somewhere. If you're a brand, right? Let's say you're a huge brand, you're $100 million per year brand, and you allocate $20 million a year for your marketing. What is the breakdown of that 20 million? The social commerce breakdown, the micro influencer breakdown, is going to continue to become a bigger and bigger and bigger segment of that $20 million marketing budget. And so it has to come from somewhere. The obvious place it comes from is influencer.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I always hear from brands wanting to spend or test on influencer, especially social commerce, is that you can't track it.
Yeah.
And obviously now there's a lot of tools, Cruva, that it's being able to track it, especially considering like let's just say the halo effect. Everybody says it, but it does play a big role specifically with TikTok Shop.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. There's some tools coming out. We're developing our own internal tool where you're going to be able to track results on Amazon, results on Shopify, like the incremental actual change from TikTok Shop videos, and you're actually going to be able to attribute it to specific videos, which is going to be pretty cool. But yeah, absolutely, there's no way to track it right now, like perfectly. It's not a perfect science, but hey, if you're doing 10K a day on your Amazon and you launch on TikTok Shop and all of a sudden you're doing 30K a day on Amazon, it's like, okay, we can probably assume that 20K a day is coming from TikTok Shop, assuming you're doing well on the platform.
It's like every time I go to a new grocery store or just outside, I see a brand I saw on TikTok in the
Exactly.
shelf.
That too, by the way, that too. Like it really drives retail sales. Like we know that. We recently saw the acquisition of Nibble Studios by Bluebird, right? And so like that shows that, hey, these big retail guys are thinking about TikTok. They're thinking about TikTok Shop and saying, okay, wow, in their data, which we probably don't have, their retail data, they are seeing, oh, if you're a TikTok brand, what does that number look like? I mean, it's probably a ridiculous spike. And so we're going to see these kind of all these markets, right? And like the Amazon and the Shopify, that's the low hanging fruit. Being able to like attribute it to retail sales, that's like a whole nother kind of, like question is like, how do you actually do that if you're a brand? Obviously, if you have internal data, that's awesome. But for a tool like us, that's going to be incredibly difficult. So there is still value there, absolutely, in the retail market.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think people forget about is that even if you're a B2B purely in the retail space, it's still beneficial to be on TikTok Shop.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Yes,
You can't overlook it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because those buyers will come, like they're everywhere. The buyers are everywhere. And what they want is TikTok. They want people who are viral on social media because it almost guarantees sales. It guarantees sales. It's not about being the flashiest on the shelf. It's about like, hey, I'm getting eyeballs on social media and I know those will translate to consumers in the store.
Especially now, I always hear some people say like retail is dying down. They're getting scared a little bit. They have to focus a little bit more on their DTC channels.
Yeah.
And TikTok is at its peak right now and it's going to
Yes.
just continue rising.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to continue to see that shift. Brands investing more and more, like I said, like that $20 million marketing budget. It's going to keep creeping up to like, oh, we need to spend a lot more on TikTok and micro influencers and social commerce.
How is Cruva helping more affiliates join the platform to help out the brands?
Our priority is strictly brands, right? Like we built a product to help brands find, manage, retain their affiliates. That is the core of what we do. Now, if through that we're able to, help these brands unlock additional revenue, which then allows them to go spend on more influencers, affiliates, that's amazing, right? But I would say directly, like, we're just building for the brands.
Yeah.
Like, again, that's why our communities are all private. We are building for the brands.
And you guys do that amazingly, in my opinion, because even whenever I have a question in the Discord, it gets answered almost right away. And I can't imagine now, especially with the team you guys are going.
Yeah, absolutely. We really prioritize like service because it's a complex, not only tool, but launching on TikTok Shop, it's not easy. I went through it. And I went through it with no YouTube videos, right? There was nothing. And so I know how brutal it is. And so like, while we are not like your coach for TikTok Shop, we're kind of your coach for TikTok Shop because we get 9-figure brands who come to us and they're like, hey, how do I set up shipping? Like literally this type of stuff happens for us. And so while, I can either complain, oh, we don't do this, or I can just realize the situation, which is, hey, these brands don't know where to turn for help because there is nowhere. And we can provide them with just an enormous amount of value if we deliver on like these things, which are again, like second nature to us. And so we end up, in that position of like just helping every brand.
Yeah, and that goes to show you how early the marketplace even
Yes.
is, in my opinion. Obviously, we're in it, and we've been in it for 2+ years now. So just looking back at it from our perspective, it feels like it's already too late, but it's still so early.
Yes. Well, that's because it's all we see. It's like because it's all we see, we feel like it's saturated. But the reality is, you ask people, and I don't know if you do this, but I ask everyone, like, hey, have you bought something on TikTok Shop? It's like, a year ago, it's like, oh, like, maybe, and like, a few things where it's like, now it's like a lot of people that I ask, at least around my age, they've bought something. They're not like regular consumers yet, but I was talking to a neighbor down the hall from me 2 nights ago, And I was like, hey, do you buy stuff on TikTok Shop? And he's like, yeah, I actually search it there before Amazon. He's like, sometimes I still go to Amazon to buy it. He's like, normally I go to Amazon to buy it, but I'll search it and do my product research on TikTok, which again is so powerful and just shows you that, hey, once 3-day shipping, once 2-day shipping, once same-day shipping comes out, like these are gonna come. These are 2-3 years in the pipeline, maybe even 12 months. It is just going to be a wave of GMV coming to the platform, right? Because all of these people who used to they go to Amazon, why wouldn't you just want to buy it where you find it, right? It's just inconvenient to then go and have to search it on Amazon.
Yeah, and it's huge because even my own mom, she does not have an Amazon account. I have an Amazon account. I buy a lot from there. But my mom has a TikTok account and she buys almost every single day. There's a package coming in every single day. And I'm just like, what did you buy this time?
Yeah.
So it's insane because obviously it's like hitting the younger audience because everybody's on TikTok, but it's also hitting the older audience, which is amazing in my opinion. Like you mentioned,
Totally.
I just do my research there. Whenever I talk to someone like, hey, I'm going to Japan, they search up on TikTok, cool places to go to Japan.
Exactly.
Right? So people are already using it for research.
Yep.
Imagine now product research.
Exactly. As like a discovery engine, there's just nothing works the same. I mean, you go on Reels and like try and search something, it's just brutal. Like it does not give you what you want. Not like TikTok does. Just not like TikTok. The algorithm for TikTok is it's unparalleled.
Closing question. If you go from our last conversation 9 months ago, what's one thing that you will tell yourself and what's one thing that you will tell a brand?
What's one thing from 9 months ago to now? Like what's changed? I would say number one, much more of an emphasis on like community building. You have to at this point. If you're not doing it, you're just leaving an enormous amount of value on the table right now, but also in the future. So figure out like, okay, what does my funnel look like? Of like, okay, here's the total number of creators I outreach to, right? Here's the total number who were actually sent a sample. Of those, how many made one video, right? How many generated $1 in GMV? Then how many became top performers? That's your funnel, right? Whatever you qualify as top performers, maybe let's say it's $1,000 in GMV. Whatever you qualify, the thing that helps that funnel at every stage is building a community, right? Because if you're able to develop relationships with creators, if you are able to properly incentivize your creators, they'll stick with you, they'll continue to make content. And like across the board, we see that the brands who get their creators to post 3, 4, 5 times every time they send a creator a sample, those are the brands who win. Those are the brands who win because creators and the algorithm favors creators who post multiple times for the same brand. Like it's absolutely critical. We hear this from TikTok, right? So getting your creators to post multiple times is one of the most valuable things you can do. And creator community is the best way to do that, right? So that's what I would say to brands is like go all in on building up a real community that's going to be, something that serves you and serves your brand for years to come.
As a brand owner and as an agency, I would 100% agree, and you broke it down perfectly in my opinion because you're not just saying if a top performer is someone that does $1,000. I know it depends heavily on your brand.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of nuances to it, and it depends on your numbers. But you're 100% true on that as well.
Yeah.
The more times an affiliate posts, the more the brand makes money, and also the affiliate makes money, which is a win-win, right?
Exactly.
Not just getting one video per sample sent out. Try to maximize that video posted per sample.
Exactly. It's time to value. It's like if they can post twice and they get their first sale, they're encouraged to post again. Whereas like if they just post that first time and they get no sale, you need other ways to get them to post that second video, third video, fourth video, because then they get that sale and they're like, oh, this is possible.
Well, Sebastian, thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It was great talking.
You as well.